listen to Wrestling Out on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Yo!
WrestleMania 40. I'm sorry for NXT Stand and Deliver, there just isn't going to be time. As it is, we have to get through 14 matches and a song in 28 minutes. It is going to be a push, but we are going to get through it. Let's just start off top of the card. Opener for night one. Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, Women's World Championship on the line. Mommy stays on top.
Well, they started it off with some surprises, because I certainly didn't see that one coming. It does, again, bring up a question. What are they going to do with Rhea? What are they going to do with her division? Because Becky was basically the last boss for heel Rhea, at least. Are they going to split her off of Judgment Day and turn her face?
Yeah, we got
I don't know.
hints on Raw that it looks like Liv Morgan's going to be going after the title in the short term. But yeah, also, so many segments with the Judgment Day indicating, not that she isn't going to sort of split off and go into her own thing. After Liv, which presumably will take us through Backlash, I don't know what's going to happen.
It probably would just be a title change, and they probably just didn't want to do Liv at WrestleMania because they knew Becky was the bigger match.
Yeah.
For Rhea. Then they'll give Liv a little moment at the pay-per-view, next pay-per-view, and then who knows what they'll do with Rhea. But yeah, it was a good match, solid match. The ladies brought it. They were great the way you expect them to be, and that's all I can say.
Yeah, there is one more possibility I will bring up just because it was announced at the end of April. We are going to be having a draft. So potentially we are going to be moving over some people to Raw that Rhea Ripley could be facing, or maybe we're going to move the whole Judgment Day over to SmackDown. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, multiple titles and multiple other things from the results that will potentially affect that. But that shake-up might give her some more contenders.
Yeah, well, one good thing is, with the titles not having the frickin' brand name in it, you could switch to champions and not have to do the awkward title pass.
Yay! Well,
Unlike the tag titles, which we'll talk about next.
Oh, you got the segue. It was sitting there. I wanted it. Six-pack tag team ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. They finally did it. A-Town Down Under pulls down the SmackDown titles, while the Awesome Truth pulls down the Raw ones.
Yep. You finally got your split tab championships.
I wanted it for so long, and they gave it to me exactly how I asked for it.
Yeah. You said that in the chat, and I'm like, they've said that the entire time. That both sets of titles have to be changed in order for the match to end. So I didn't think anything of it until I turned on the match and saw both titles actually separated.
Yeah, I think as soon as they were on different coat hangers, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think the right people walked out with them. I think A-Town Down Under from the two SmackDown teams. Always better to have a heel title, have people chase them. It might not be long, but it'll hopefully inject a little bit of something into the SmackDown tag team division. And for Raw, the Awesome Truth were doing amazing, and if this is just a reward for R-Truth and all of the work he's put in with the Judgment Day and his comedy lately, then so be it. And The Miz is The Miz, right? Never gonna hate on the guy.
Amazing how a team went from rumors are they're going to be removed from the match to winning the match in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's if you believe a certain dirt sheet writer that doesn't really have any credibility.
Dirt sheets have been running wild for the last week. WrestleMania weekend puts everybody into overdrive.
Yeah, I agree with you. The right two teams won. It'll be interesting seeing where they go from here. I think A-Downtown could hold the SmackDown titles for a while. I think Awesome Truth might hold them a month or two. I don't think it'll be long. And I do think it is definitely a reward for just all the stuff that R-Truth's been able to do, and the Miz is just riding Drew's coattails right now. And yeah, I think it was a great match.
Yeah. And then we had another tag team match straight afterwards. Rey Mysterio teaming up with Andrade, coming out on top of Santos Escobar and another Judgment Day member, Dirty Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. This is the part of the show where they started making the wrong choices.
Wrong call.
Yeah. I definitely think Dominic should have won here, just because last year he lost to Rey.
He's 0-2.
Yeah. But I guess if this is part of Dominic's redemption arc, I can overlook it, especially if they do have to do the big bomb to Judgment Day and split them off. Then we'll have to see where they go with him from there. Maybe eventually he makes up with his father, but yeah, it was just this was a cluster of a match, by the way, with 5 people involved on each side.
I expect it to be run back for sure.
Yeah. In all honesty, this should have been a 10-person tag. But
no one turned on Rey.
Not yet.
We'll leave all the bloodline stuff. We'll talk about it all in one big go. Let's instead talk 6-woman tag team match. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi coming out on top of Damage Control.
To the surprise of no one! Yeah, this was what it was. It was an 8-minute match, and it basically was just to get Jade Cargill over and to give Naomi and Bianca something to do for WrestleMania.
Yeah. I still ask the question, what combination of Jade, Bianca, and Naomi are gonna capture the women's tag team titles? They've shown they can beat in Damage Control.
My guess is Cargill Belair. Mostly because that's the one thing Belair has not done since coming up to the main roster is the tag team championships. And I doubt, this is knock on wood, Naomi left the company, got herself over, and came back just to be put back in a tag team.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that would be a very dominant team. I would not want to go up against Jade and Bianca. Intercontinental Championship, that one did change hands. We ended a historically long title reign, won't be the first one, when Gunther lost to Sami Zayn after he got hyped up by Chad Gable, hyped up by his family, and hyped up by Kevin Owens.
That was a neat moment with Sami walking to the ring, and you see Kevin Owens there.
Mm.
It's not something you ever see that often with the walk to Gorilla, unless your name was Goldberg.
Yeah.
In which case, it happened every time. But the fact of the matter is, the title reign of Gunther ended on 666. You cannot make this stuff up. It was a phenomenal match. It was the thing that got people back into it. Because up to that point, the previous 3 matches were either short or bad. Which we'll get to later.
Stinkers.
Yeah. But this got the crowd energized back into the pay-per-view before the main event, which we'll talk about later as well. But yeah, I'm shocked they made the change. But Sami is one of those guys I was like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, just a year ago, he almost beat the unbeatable, at least until night 2. And so it makes sense he would be able to beat Gunther.
Yeah.
The question is how long will Sami hold the title? Because he's already got a title defense next week on Raw.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. I do think Gable is showing signs of potentially getting desperate for that title. We saw, he said at WrestleMania, you owe me a favor. And he's getting it. He's getting that shot at the title. I think that's going to be our feud going forward. We'll have to wait and see. Gunther obviously may have bigger main championships, World Heavyweight Championships in sight. We'll have to see how the draft shakes up and where he ends up. But big things in that guy's future, for sure. And just before we go to the song, try and roll out a few more matches rapid fire. We had the Pride going up against the Final Testament in a Philadelphia street fight. We had Snoop on commentary. We had Bubba Ray Dudley as a special guest referee.
This was a fun match. It was never going to be a 5-star brawl in anyone's imagination.
Yeah.
But I think it was what it needed to be. It was fun. It was nice seeing Bubba in WWE again. Even if the stripes didn't look very flattering on him. And I'm more shocked that the Pride won. But when you think about it being a Philadelphia street fight and you have one of the ECW originals in the match as a referee, it kind of makes sense that the faces go over.
Yeah.
After you think about it.
I'm happy Bobby Lashley gets a moment, you know. WrestleMania hasn't been the high points of Bobby lately, so it was good for me to see him, you know, picking up a win with the Street Profits next to him as well. And then last match before we go to the song, LA Knight, AJ Styles, 12 minutes of Bogo Stando singles match.
Yeah, it was just an ordinary match. Again, I think this is another match that they may have put the wrong person over with, but at the same time, I don't really have that much of a problem with it like I did the other matches. That I felt like the wrong person won. Because they are trying to still build up LA Knight. And AJ Styles is talking about retirement, so he's on the doorstep of needing to put people over. So him putting over LA Knight is a good.
Alrighty, well, we'll go into our entrance theme of the week. It is none other than Cody Rhodes. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know exactly why we're playing Cody Rhodes' theme, but it is playing for you right about now.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. I'm Grady, he's Josh. A couple more matches before we get to rounding up all of the connected ones into US Championship. On the line, Logan Paul defending against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Walks out with the title thanks to streamer Iyo Speed and his classic shenanigans.
I'm sorry. That's all I remember is just him barking at Randy Orton and then getting an RKO for his trouble.
Yeah. Very similar to how the match was laid out last year, to be fair.
Yeah. It was a good triple threat. I pretty much got my moment of everybody hitting everybody's finisher on everybody. There towards the middle. With Kevin Owens hitting a pop-up powerbomb after an RKO by Randy Orton. But it was fine. You expected Logan Paul to steal the win, and that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't Randy Orton that was pinned, so you could still do him versus Paul at like Backlash.
Yeah. I think that's where the door is left open for sure. You know, Kevin Owens got pinned. Kevin Owens had already lost a 1v1 prior to this. The Paul Orton door is still open. Again, the draft can shake up the competitors that are going to be in his division. I'm sure we'll see him sooner rather than later defending that title again.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I do think we probably will get some more answers on SmackDown this week.
Well, talking about SmackDown, their Women's Championship changed hands as well. Not a great weekend for Damage Control, as Bayley walks out with the Women's Championship.
I loved that before the match started, you were like, I'm concerned that there are 2 matches in a row that are going to be 1v against a whole group of people. And with the exception of the entrance,
yeah,
you never saw Damage Control again the rest of the match.
They stayed out of the way. They let it be a clean 1-versus-1.
Yeah. And Bayley overcome the odds, and she proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that maybe she's the most important member of the Horsewomen. She may not be the best. That's Charlotte. There's no denying that. But I think Bayley might be the most important because she is more willing to work with people. She's more willing to be a teacher. She's more willing to help, and she doesn't care to lose. And she finally got her WrestleMania, and I'm happy for her.
100%. Yeah, I think if you look at it, Sami Zayn, Bayley, Cody Rhodes, there was a lot of babyfaces up against the odds, against long heel title reigns with factions behind them. We saw quite a few happy story endings over the WrestleMania weekend. But now it is time to get into our interconnected bits. We got about 10 minutes to get through these, so we still don't have a lot of time to let them breathe, but I'll let you complain about the Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso matchup first.
Yeah. I was so excited for this match. So excited. I told you. I thought this could be match of the entire weekend.
I think you got the opposite.
Entire weekend. It was the worst match of the entire weekend.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get what didn't click with this match. You would think two brothers, they would have perfect chemistry wrestling against each other. But something just did not work. And unfortunately, it also, another reason, Jimmy Uso lost.
Yeah.
This was the moment to make Jimmy and bring him up the card. You already have Jay up the card and the moniker of being main event Jay. This was a chance to make Jimmy, and they didn't go with it.
Especially when on the Raw after WrestleMania, Jay's gonna win the number one contendership to the World Heavyweight title anyway. So, he's gonna bounce back from a loss.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't get it. I don't get that decision, but maybe I'm never supposed to. I don't know. Oh well.
Oh well, I think is correct. The less we talk about that match, maybe the better. Because ultimately it didn't play into our main event of night one, the Bloodline. Rock and Roman taking on Rhodes and Rollins. Spoilers, the Bloodline walked out the victors, and that meant we were going to get Bloodline rules on night two, but they went 45 minutes with this, guys.
Or one Cody Rhodes and The Rock promo. Yeah, I mean, it was a slow match. It took like 25 minutes for anything to really get going.
Yeah.
But once it got going, it was a really darn good match. You just had that slog at the beginning, and surprisingly, this was a clean match.
There was a few times where, count-outs were not looked at, but in general, yeah.
But yeah, it was exactly what it needed to be. The Bloodline needed the win, because you needed that stipulation to set up everything for night two. Because I don't think what happened in night two would have been as dramatic or as special without the Bloodline rules.
100%. This was the story, and in my opinion, had Jey Uso lost the match against his brother, the story would have been very much of the faces just constantly losing. Because if you look at Night 2's opener, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins was injured, Seth Rollins was distracted. It went exactly how Drew McIntyre predicted. He said that it was going to be a splintered Rollins and it would be an easy night at the office. Well, for the first match, it was an easy night at the office, and Drew was able to pick up the title. And Seth did sort of, I guess, pay the price of having two matches in the weekend.
Yeah. But then I get to be my little smug self for a moment. Because I sat here and said, I don't know if Drew McIntyre walks out with his title. I just don't think it happens. And Drew McIntyre didn't walk out with the championship. Because Damian Priest walked out and cashed in after Drew McIntyre wrote a check that his mouth could not cash and got beat up by CM Punk.
Yeah, it made a whole lot of sense. Seth Rollins losing made a lot of sense in the Bloodline storyline. And Drew McIntyre winning, he gets his moment in front of the fans, and then he is just nothing but a poop talker. And CM Punk on commentary, it was going to cost him sooner or later. Happy for Damian. Happy for the Judgment Day to be carrying that World Heavyweight Championship around.
Yeah, I'm happy for Damian Priest. I was one of those. I think what really helped is they took him away from it. They took the emphasis on that briefcase away.
Mm.
You've seen him carrying it, but you didn't really register that he had it. So you forgot about it. So when he cashed in at the quote unquote biggest WrestleMania ever, it made it more special for that cash in.
Mm.
And so that's why I know I said multiple times, why didn't he cash in at this point when Seth was weakened, at that point when Seth was weakened? But but to do it at WrestleMania is something only one other person has done, Seth Rollins himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm happy for Priest. I want to see what he does, even if it's only a month or two of reign. I want to see how they go about it with him.
Well, with his first competitor lined up now, Jey Uso having won that number one contendership on Raw, I do reckon Damian Priest can probably overcome that obstacle, so we might be seeing a couple months from him at least.
It's very possible. It's also very possible that we may see him get Orton. And by that I mean him getting kicked out of Judgment Day, because they're jealous that he accomplished what Finn could not.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, the Judgment Day in turmoil at the moment. Dominic has some unfinished business with Andrade. Rhea still running the place. She seemed to be talking about her and Damian as a pretty strong duo, so maybe Finn and JD have to watch their backs if anyone is going to be booted out of the Judgment Day. We'll have to wait and see. But I am aware we only have a couple minutes left, so we do have to talk about the Bloodline Rules match, end of Night 2, the end of WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes finishes his story, 30-minute long match. Interferences out the wazoo. We got to see John Cena. We got to see The Undertaker. Yeah, what more could you want?
Apparently, a lot of people wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, but he would have been the cherry on top. I also wanted him.
Yeah. It wouldn't have made any sense.
Look, it doesn't need to make sense.
That's the thing. All the interruptions on Cody's side made sense because they were all people that either Roman directly defeated during this title reign, or representing somebody who can't be there for very obvious reasons, being The Undertaker, representing basically Bray Wyatt or Braun Strowman, depending on which way you want to go with it, because they both can't be there.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that's the title reign started with. So everything with that match made sense. They made it interwoven. And it was like, you were like, where's the interruption? It's 22 minutes in the match. Where's the interruptions? And then that's when Jimmy comes out. And he gets neutralized by Jey. And then a couple minutes later, out comes Solo. And we get a repeat of last year's finish, but it doesn't finish the match. And we get a repeat of the tag team match that Roman and Solo had a couple of years ago, not against Jey and Jimmy, but the finish where they Samoan strike spear finish. And that can't get the job done. And you see Solo just absolutely losing his mind. Like, why isn't this working? And then you see John Cena come out and neutralizes Solo. And then The Rock comes out and basically makes a monkey's uncle out of John Cena. And then the gong. And that's when I lost my mind because I wasn't expecting it. And then the best thing about all these interruptions, these interferences, is it didn't play on them. The finish was straight up Cody hitting his finish 3 times on Roman. And it had nothing to do with anything that happened before that.
Yeah. I think I wrote it in our chat where it was like, between the bells, the wrestling wasn't 5 stars, but it was a hell of a story wrap up. And it didn't matter what happened. The outcome, the build, the references, the callbacks, it was good. It was amazing. There's not much words.
For Cody's part of the story, that was a walk-off home run. It's game over. For Roman, we're at the 7th inning stretch. We're getting ready to turn Roman back to being a face. and he has to start making amends for everything that he did during the last 4 years. But we're going to need to do that in a few months. He's going to need some time off, so people will forget about him.
Well,
and in the meantime, we're going to get more heel rock.
Yeah, we'll see what we get in the future. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for this week. We haven't even gotten to question what The Rock handed Cody Rhodes, the big question about Raw. But we will get there. There is more weeks in the year. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up. And we will catch you next week.